Hello and welcome to another HTML and CSS tutorial. In the last couple of tutorials we've been looking at something called the HTML box model, and we looked at how to use the box model to change padding and to also add borders to elements in our code. So if you're not familiar with the box model, go back and have a look at the last couple of tutorials. But basically, the box model, we can consider every HTML element on our web pages as a box. So inside that box, we have the content, so the paragraph or heading text, for example. Then we have padding, which is empty space around that content. We then can add a border around the padding and the content. And then around all of that, we can add a margin. We can add that to the top, the left, the bottom, and the right. So the margin is also clear or transparent space around all of those other things, around the border, around the padding, and around the content. So if you're not sure how to apply padding or borders, go back to the last couple of tutorials and have a look at that. All right, so I have code from the previous tutorial that I haven't really changed. So in my body section, I have a heading. I have two headings of different sizes, and then I have a paragraph. Okay, so there's three different boxes there. All right, in the head section, I have styles. So inside the style tags, I have a H1 style. So I've added a background color of orange, I've added some padding, and I've added a border style and specified the width and color. I've done the same for the H2 element and also for the paragraph. But for my H1 element, for the first heading, I'm going to add a margin, so empty space around that box. So to do that, all I need to do is type in margin, colon, 50 px, so I'm going to add a margin of 50 pixels in width, and then make sure that's finished off with a semicolon. I'll save that and open my page. All right, now you can see that I have these, I have three boxes here, two headings, one paragraph. Okay, the bottom two boxes, there's no margin around them. I haven't specified the margin. Okay, but, well, there's a little bit of a margin, but for this first box, the largest heading, I've added a margin of 50 pixels. Okay, I could change that a little bit. I could make it just a little bit smaller and refresh the page, and now you can see there's a smaller margin around there. So the margin is around all four sides of this box. Okay, I'll change that back to 50. Now if we go down to the H2 element, this time I'm going to add a margin, but I'm going to specify a different margin for the left, the right, the top and the bottom of the box. So just like we did before with the border and the padding, we can say something like this: margin left 20 pixels, margin right, we'll go 20 pixels as well, margin top 10 pixels, and we'll say margin bottom can also be 10 pixels, and we'll save that. Refresh the page. There's now a margin around this box as well, this yellow box. So there's 20 pixels to the left, there's 20 pixels to the right, and then there's 10 pixels at the top and the bottom. Remember that there's 50 pixels around the first box as well. So there's quite a bit of space between those two boxes there. All right, now I'll go back to the code. And this time we'll change the margin on the paragraph tag, but we're going to use a shortcut. So we'll say margin, and we'll specify the margin for the top, right, bottom, and left sides, but we're going to do it all on one line. So in order, we have the top, the right side, the bottom, and the left side. Okay, so top, right, bottom, and left in order. Okay, We can also, and I didn't mention this in the last tutorial, but it is helpful to add comments to your CSS code. So to add a comment to your CSS code, the syntax looks like this. We have an asterisk or a star, and oops, sorry, we have a forward slash and then an asterisk and a star, and then we can say something like this: top, right, bottom, left, and then finish that comment off with a star and a forward slash. So you can see that that section there is grayed out, so it's just a comment. It won't be seen on our web page, it won't change any of the code, but it's just there to help us, so that when we look back at this code, we can remember what these margin widths were in order. So top, right, bottom, and left. It's just there to help us. So we've specified the margin for the four sides of the box around this paragraph content, and we've done that all on one line. If we go back to the page and refresh, you can see that that margin has now been applied to that box. We can make one of them quite different, so we might make the left one 100 pixels this time. And you can see that that's changed as well. So that's another way of specifying margins for the different sides of the box, but a little bit easier, bit of a shortcut, and saving lines of code there by just doing it in one line. Okay, and one last thing that we can do is we've already added padding and borders and margins to our headings and to our paragraphs, but we can also add a style for the body of our web page. So in the style section, between the style tags, we can say body in curly braces, and we can add a margin to the body, and we might make just the margin 0 pixels, and we'll add a border, and this border will be 2 pixels. It will be red and it will be a solid line border. Okay, if we go back to our page and refresh, now there is a red line around the body of our web page. There's a red border and there's 0 pixel margin. We can add a bit more of a margin. We can change that to 10 pixels, save and refresh. And so now there's a margin around the body, and there's a border, and there's margins, borders, and padding for our individual boxes. Okay, so the body itself of the web page is actually a box too that we can apply styles to. All right, so that concludes the tutorials on the box model. So we've looked at the box model, we've used padding, we've used borders, and now we've changed the margins of our boxes. Okay, thanks for watching.